Hi, it's Ursula from ursula-smith.com, and today I am experimenting with foil, or foiling, and I have a laminator that I use with the heat transfer foils. I do not have the kind, I think it's spellbinders, where you can use die cuts with the machine, and so I normally do like a print with a laser printer and then foil that. But there are some times where I want to use a die cut, so I'm trying some different ideas. So the first thing that I did was I printed out this just was a scanned in piece of paper that I had done spatters and water droplets, changed it to black and white. So I'm trying two different things. This is the dark black that normally that's what I print with. I didn't want to waste a lot of toner, so I'm trying it also with a lighter 50% opacity, and then just cut a die cut out of the paper, and I'm going to run that through the foil machine. The other thing that I'm going to try today is using transfer gel over my die cut, and then Sizzix 3D adhesive, and we'll see how that works. The other thought I had too was just using a spray adhesive onto a die cut, and I have to go outside to do that, so I'll probably add that as an addendum. But as I usually do with anything that I'm using that's paste, I'll usually do it on another piece of cardstock so that I kind of get a twofer out of it. And so in this case, I cut this little intricate detail out of a Sizzix die. I believe it was by Lisa Jones, and that it also had just kind of the base layer, and that's this big piece of cardstock. So I'm trying to protect more of the background, and I am using just plain watercolor paper from a pad. I forget which brand it is, one of the ones that you can get at like Blix or any of the art supply stores. So I'm just going to run this paste over the top, and then this is the sort of thing that has to, actually, you know what, I might as well just cover this whole cutout. I don't know if I will foil this whole background, but might as well. Maybe it'll be a threefer. And so you have to let it dry, and then it will dry sticky, and then you can run it through the laminator machine. So I'm trying to get rid of some of those ridges, and then I can lift the whole thing off. So that's kind of the threefer. I had a piece of sticky tape on there, so I might have to tweak that top part. I'll set that aside. And then, where are my tweezers? They are buried. And then I'll just lift off this die cut. And once again, I will set those aside to cure. And I'm going to go kind of clean this up, go get some more stuff, and then I'll be back to try a similar thing with the 3D adhesive. And when I'm all set up for that, I will be back. Okay, I am back, and now I have another cutout. So this is more of like a stencil look. I think an older Tim Holtz one, if I remember correctly. And then this time I'm using the 3D adhesive. I'm just going to take some of the stuff off this little top, and same type of thing, run it over the stencil. So in this case, it would be a twofer, because the stencil would end up being kind of like a top piece. Actually, that goes on really nice. I really like these Sizzix pastes. So, same type of thing. We're going to lift off. Maybe. Ooh, it is sticky. Should have used my tweezers. And then set these aside to cure. And when these are all done, I'll run them through my laminating machine. I'm pretty sure I have a video showing how I use the lamination machine to foil, but if I don't, I mean, there's a million other ones that have the same sort of thing. So I probably won't film that because I'd have to do it one-handed because of where it's situated. But in any event, once these are dry and foiled, I will be back. So I decided I'm going to try one more thing. You can't see it now. I used one of my Yupo paper stencils, and I ran crackle paste through it. And then I put a piece, this is the heat transfer, but I'm wondering if it will stick. I don't know, but I figured I would give it a shot. And I kind of just tapped as much as I could onto the design, and then I'm kind of laying it. So maybe, I don't know which direction. Maybe I'll do it this way. And I'm kind of hoping that the crackle paste will hold onto it, even though there's no heat. And when I pull it off, the foil will stick to the crackle paste. So we'll see, probably not, but I figured I would give it a shot. And I will be back when everything's dry. Hi, I'm back, and some of the stuff that I used, the pastes, are still curing, but I wanted to show you my test case for the laser printed. So this was 50% opacity, and you can see it did adhere. So this again is heat activated foil through the laminator, and it did adhere to some of it. I actually went through a couple of times, but there's still lots of places where it's really light where it didn't adhere. So I'm sure I can doctor that up. I can probably spray it with some different inks, but this light doesn't work all that great, so I probably wouldn't do that. This piece was 75, I believe, % opacity, and that worked better. There's still a little bit of missing pieces. So hard to look at foil. So like a little bit missing there and there. And again, this was spattered. I could have just done the whole thing just plain black, but I wanted to see what it did with a little bit of dimension. So that's actually sort of usable, I think. And then this was the darkest, and that came out great. It really didn't miss anything. There may be a little kind of couple of spots. I probably could have gone. I had this on a lighter temperature too. Probably could have done it a second time and it would have been fine. But this is great. So anyway, so that's a really cool way to use your die cuts if you have a laser printer and you're normally used to printing on the laser and then foiling. You can just print some black backgrounds, die cut, and then foil those. So I will be back when everything else is cured to see how my experiments are working. Okay, I am back, and my pieces have cured, and I've run them through the foil machine. So this was the first set. So if you remember, I had this piece down, something to the effect of that. That's wrong orientation, but something similar. And then I ran the transfer gel, the Deco Foil transfer gel, over it. And so I foiled these separately. Actually, I have the leftover foil pieces for this. So this I foiled like with one sheet on the two pieces. And you'll see there's a couple of places where I've missed with the paste in all three of these. But I can go back in and I can either put more paste on and do it again, or you'll see later I came up with something else where I could tweak that. Slash I could just go in with inks or paints, and that's probably what I would end up doing. But I love the way I love the way the reverse came out. And then this one, you know, it's kind of hard to tell. I should have done these in different colors, but that would be pretty layered. This piece here, again, I missed this middle part, but I will talk about how I could tweak that in a few minutes. So that was the Deco art or Deco foil transfer gel. Then the next set was the stencil that I did with the Sizzix 3D adhesive. And I thought this would dry sticky, but it did not. And so, come on, there it goes. And so I'm not actually sure what it's supposed to do then, but I ended up running it through the foil machine. And so here, what I did was I covered the leaves in green foil and then put the red over the whole top so I could get like a two-tone effect. And that one came out great. You'll see some of the paste stuck to my carrier sheet, so I'll have to work with that a little bit. But I love the way that came out, actually. And save your foils, because you'll see what I did in the reverse part of this, what you could do with little pieces of leftover foil. And so this one, the whole thing is covered in green, which again, it looks like I missed spots. But I went in and covered bits of the background in different colors so that hopefully, and they're all kind of layered one on top of each other. So here's the red. And then I did gold for the little berries. Cool. So that worked. And then I just did some teal and green on this side. And I don't know what is happening here. Oh, there it is. And so those are kind of two-tone leaves. And again, kind of stuck to my carrier sheet. I'll probably go in and trim those later. But you get the idea. And so if you have those little leftover pieces, you can go in and do different colors like I did here. And you can see I didn't even try to paste over here because I was going to trim this down to an A2 size, but I did miss at the bottom. So unfortunately that I will have to go in and tweak. But that one came out, I mean, a lot of times these could be throwaways, but I kind of like the way that one came out too. And then this is the crackle paste, which, ooh, actually, I can't believe that worked. But it stuck to the paste, even though I didn't run it through the laminator. So, and I'm just looking, there's a spot. So this didn't quite dry. These have all been drying for about, I don't know, maybe 2.5, 3 hours. But it's very cold down here. So there's one spot that looks like it didn't completely dry. And I was kind of hoping maybe you would get a little bit of crackling, but I mean, I wasn't even expecting this to work at all. So I'm going to take my win here. And again, this is showing all kinds of multicolors, but it's actually like a rose color, and it's just not working to give you there. Maybe that a little bit. You can see the color, but that's kind of cool. So what I would do is, if you're going to stencil and then use the paste and the foil over the top, I'd probably let it dry overnight. So that was cool. Then in the meanwhile, I also decided I was going to try to use Zig markers and see if I colored with Zig markers, if I could get, and then put the foil right on top. That's the wrong one. This Zig marker. And then I have a small one that I can kind of draw with. I had it over there because I was tweaking something. So this is a small chisel, and this is a big chisel. I think I have one that's more of a pen, which would be good for more detailed things. But I just colored and then put the foil on top. So here's the one I used, the big one, and this was just a die cut that didn't kind of work. And so I just colored, put the foil on top, let it sit, and peeled it off, and looks like that worked. This one I went in and just did dots using this one, and then that worked too. So I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. I wonder, could I tweak? So this is what I'm thinking, to fix the pieces where I didn't get the full coverage. Now they're all in a pile. But the ones where I was missing spots, this one, I'm thinking I can just go in and fill in, put the red back on, and tweak that. But then I thought, well, what happens if I have something that is embossed? Oh, this isn't fully dry. This may not work. I just did this, so yeah, no, that didn't, it's not fully dry, so I probably just wrecked it. And it looks like it's stuck in some places. But so I just went in, so this is embossed, and I just went in and put the Zig marker and just did little dots to add foiled red berries. So if I had left it long enough, that probably would have worked too. I don't know if this is, if I just wrecked it, but I'll let that sit, and I will report back if that worked. And then this one may not either, because I did this one last. So this is just stamped again. Oh, that one dried better. So this is just a stamped image. Whatever, wasn't that crazy about it, but so I figured I would sacrifice. And so I just used the little Zig marker to go in and color over where the berries would be, and then foiled that. So that's kind of cool. So you can take a stamped image, an embossed image, and tweak it with foiling. Probably using most of these different techniques, either with the pastes or the glue pens. I'm also wondering, which I don't know if I'll end up videotaping this, but I'm also wondering if you could use like the heat and stick embossing powder. You know, I could have done something like that, you know, on any of these things, and then, you know, heated the heat and stick until it was sticky, and then stick the foil on top. And I'm assuming that will work, but in any event, I'll give it a shot and either update the video or just post it on my blog. So thanks for joining me for my experiments with foil. All because I don't have a Gemini or whatever the machine is where you can foil with die cuts. But I think I have a bunch of different ways to use them anyway. So hopefully this was helpful. Thanks for joining me. See you next time. So I did want to show you, I went back in with a Zig glue pen and just added some glue to the spots that I had missed with the foil before. and then just added a piece of foil and let it sit until it dried, and that did fill in. So the Zig pen, for the most part, works really well. I will show you these. I don't know if I had showed you the originals. So these were pieces that I just used, the embossing folders. They cut as well as emboss. And then I used embossing glaze over the top. So in this case, this was embossing glaze. I used the glue pen. I kind of got a little aggressive and ripped a piece, and then did the foil on top, and that worked great. Now the thing was, I did rub off some of the glaze in this case, so there's a little more paper and less of the embossing plasticky stuff. So that seemed to work fine. On this one now, this one I've tried a few times and now it's just kind of wrecked, but this was not glaze, it was straight embossing powder. I did use a lot of it, so this is really plasticky from the embossing powders. And the glue did not really want to dry. And so I kept trying to force it and it just didn't work. I did come over the top with a different type of glue. That didn't work either. So this is kind of a tricky one. So I would say, you know, if you could leave spots, if you know you're going to go back in with foil, I would leave the spots that I'm going to do that as free of embossing powder / glaze as possible, just because otherwise I think you're going to have a difficult time adding the foil on top. So, and you know, you could always try the, you know, like the real stuff, like the paste that's really made to hold on to the foil, and then you run it through the laminator. You could try that. I didn't, because I didn't know what it would do. The embossing powder probably melt the whole thing off. So I just, whatever, I would just try it with whatever cold stuff, but just leave that area free. So anyway, hope that makes sense. Thanks once again for joining me, and we'll see you next time.